for Saul Canelo Alvarez?
He definitely my number one pound for pound for sure.
That Canelo was you at 168 pounds. What do you think?
He's tough. You know, he learned a lot from his loss from Floyd. I believe it made him a better fighter. And you know, I think he's definitely, you know, one of them the boxers that's, you know, pound for pound. He need to be number one. You know, he got the experience. You know, he's older. You know.
That was obviously Gervonta Davis. Since Floyd Mayweather retired, Gervonta has been consistent, saying only one thing, which is Canelo Alvarez is pound for pound number one. All this time, Canelo wasn't even on the top three. When ESPN were having debates on who's pound for pound number one, is it Crawford, is it Lomachenko? The moment Lomachenko loses, then instead of Crawford being number one, they put Canelo number one. It wasn't until Bivol took Canelo Alvarez to school and beat him pretty much 10 rounds to 2 or 11 rounds to 1. That's when ESPN was forced to put Crawford rightfully at his throne, at his position as pound for pound number one, as he has been this entire time. Every fighter old media said was pound for pound number one over Bud. From Roman Gonzalez to Gennady Golovkin to Lomachenko to Canelo Alvarez, they all have lost. However, only one name remained with the face that they hated the most, and that's Terrence Bud Crawford. Crawford didn't just not lose, he was the boogeyman. He fought everyone, unlike those other fighters that were avoiding fighters and still lost. And Crawford at the same time surpassed all of the expectations. That's why Crawford is the pound for pound number one fighter truly since Floyd Mayweather retired. Either way, after Crawford put the beating of the century on Errol Spence, a fight that was supposed to be the fight of the decade, a fight that Tank kept screaming up and down that Errol Spence is gonna stop Crawford within 6 rounds. At that time, Crawford was pound for pound number one and Errol Spence was pound for pound number 2. All of old media had both Crawford and Errol Spence on their top 3 pound for pound. Old media was trying their hardest at that time to find another Hope fighter to put over Crawford as pound for pound number one, from Inoue to Usyk. We all know since the beginning of time, the fighters on the coincidental list have to do 10 times more what the fighters on the Hope list do to get half of the recognition. Either way, Crawford ended all of the debate and the hate to who is the pound for pound number one in the sport. The way he beat Errol Spence, he didn't just break his limit, he broke the sport limit. We never seen someone dominate at that level the way Crawford dominated Errol Spence. I mean, he showed his greatness that night. By doing so, Crawford became the undisputed pound for pound number one king of the sport. Not just in his division, but the entire sport. Fighters old media was comparing Crawford to, saying they were pound for pound number one over him, the Inoue, the Usyks of the world, the Bivol. All of these fighters, they came out debunking old media narrative and agenda by crowning Crawford as pound for pound number one. From Inoue to Bivol to Usyk to Beterbiev, all of the pound for pound fighters in boxing, they all said Crawford is pound for pound number one. He's that great. The last time we seen everyone in unity saying that so-and-so is pound for pound number one without a debate was when Floyd Mayweather was around. And before that, when Roy Jones was around in his prime. That's how great Bud Crawford is. And guess who was around when everyone was saying this? Gervonta was. In fact, he said he was going to knock out Crawford in 6 rounds himself. But the moment Crawford challenged him to do it, he said, "I dare you, I'll make 147 for you." That's when Gervonta came back out saying that, "Oh, I was just joking." He didn't even say, "No, I don't want to fight Bud." He said, "Hell no, I was just joking." I'll tell you this, though. Crawford wasn't joking when he tried to put the Beast by Dre on Gervonta. Well, fast forward till today. Gervonta is dissing Crawford again. The moment he heard Crawford is moving up to fight Canelo Alvarez and people praising Crawford for daring to be great, he had a problem with it as he started dissing Crawford again. Now, before I get to what Tank said exactly, after Crawford beat Errol Spence, he let it be known he's willing to move up 3 weight classes to fight Canelo Alvarez immediately one time, after Crawford already moved up 3 divisions anyways to 147. He's willing to move up an additional 3, and this time he's going to do it one time, one shot, to fight the undisputed champion at that time, Canelo Alvarez, at 168, without a rehydration clause. I told you guys at that time, and I have been saying it since then, if Crawford pulls this off, then he will stamp his name as one of the greatest 5 fighters of all time. He will put his name next to Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, Roy Jones, and then it will be Terrence Bud Crawford. His name will be in this discussion of the top 5 greatest fighters of all time in the entire sport. Well, Najee came out saying the exact same thing I've been saying this entire time. And Gervonta responded to that by saying, quote, "This guy is a meat lover." End of the quote. Now, wait a minute. Because I thought it was Gervonta who loved Canelo. It was Gervonta who said Canelo is pound for pound number 1. In fact, Tank took it a step further. He said Canelo is me at 168. So if Crawford moves up 3 weight classes after he already moved up 3, basically it will be a total of 6, right? To fight the Gervonta of the 168-pound division, the undisputed champ there, who according to Gervonta is pound for pound number 1. And if Crawford beats him, he still can't see why people are saying that Crawford will be considered one of the top greatest 5 fighters of all time. Does that make sense? When it was Gervonta himself who said Canelo is pound for pound number 1, all this time since Floyd Mayweather retired, when it was Gervonta himself who compared Canelo to himself by saying that Canelo is me at 168. The math is not mathing. If anything, Gervonta should be the one that's giving Crawford even more credit than us, since he's the one who said Canelo is pound for pound number 1 for years. He praised Canelo to the max, saying that Canelo is him. You can't have it both ways. You can't praise Canelo for years, saying he's the one, pound for pound number 1, this, that, and the third. The moment Crawford beats him under some crazy circumstances that no one has been under, then you downplay it. The only way the math can add up is if Gervonta said, if Crawford moves up 3 weight classes to beat Canelo, then he's the GOAT. Forget about top 5, he's number 1 of all time. You can't be a player sitting on the bench since you don't want to play against the best, talking trash about Jordan on the field who's playing against the best. A fighter as good as Gervonta that feels he needs to put a rehydration clause against fighters in his own division like Ryan Garcia can't talk about greatness when it comes to a fighter like Crawford, who's moving up multiple weight classes to his 6th weight class to fight Canelo Alvarez for undisputed without a rehydration clause. I mean, under these circumstances of Crawford moving up multiple weight classes one time, you will think it will be a mandatory for a rehydration clause and a catch weight. But Bud is cut different. A man that doesn't even know what a rehydration clause is, since he never used one or done anything like that. A catch weight or a rehydration clause, the way Canelo Alvarez and Gervonta did. Because we all know Tank learned the catch weights and the rehydration clause advantages from Canelo Alvarez, the catch weight and the rehydration king. So let's get straight to the whole absolute truth, unfiltered and uncut. Imagine Inui smoked Bam Bam Rodriguez and all the competition he has right now, and then moved up 3 weight classes one time to fight Gervonta and beat Gervonta, imagine what old media is going to say about him. You know how much respect Inoue is going to get? That's why Inoue said hell no to fighting Gervonta, since he knew what time it was. He knows it's not easy to move up multiple weight classes to fight someone like Gervonta, the way Crawford is moving up multiple weight classes to fight the Gervonta at 168, Canelo Alvarez, who Tank said is pound for pound number 1 over him. But if Gervonta wants the recognition that Crawford is getting, then how come he doesn't step up to the table? Forget about fighting Crawford. Gervonta has yet to fight his rivals, the Shakur, the Devin Haney's, the Keyshawn, the Andy Cruz, the Lomachenkos of the world. Once he beats them, then we could talk about Gervonta moving up multiple weight classes to fight Crawford. If he does all that and beat all of these guys, then without a doubt, Gervonta too is going to be considered one of the top 5 greatest fighters of all time. But the problem is, Tank haven't fought his own rivals yet. From the Devin Haney of the world, Shakur, Keyshawn, Andy Cruz, Lomachenko, and Teofimo Lopez. Let alone fighting Crawford, moving up multiple weight classes to do it. This is why when you compare Gervonta to Crawford, they don't compare even though they both gifted and some of the most unique fighters of all time. But when you compare them side by side, what they did in their careers is like not even close to comparing apples to oranges or apples to rocks. It's more so like comparing apples to diamonds. That's the difference between Crawford and Gervonta in the sport of boxing when it comes to legacy. On one hand, Crawford already beat all of his rivals. He smoked them. He knocked them out in impressive fashion, without any rehydration clause, without any catch weight. Crawford has never done a rehydration clause or a catch weight. He's moving up multiple weight classes to his 6th division to fight Canelo without a rehydration clause. And you guys know what I'm talking about here. When you talk about Sean Porter, the moment they told Crawford you ducking him, Crawford went, fought him, and knocked him out. He did the same thing to every fighter they told him he was ducking, from Errol Spence to Porter, his rivals, to Benavidez, to Amir Khan, to Jeff Horn, to Postal and Flex Diaz, the gold medalist that they were telling Bud he's ducking. Same thing they said about Postal. Bud knocked out the prime pound-for-pound version of Gamboa. For an entire decade, Crawford was the boogeyman and the pound-for-pound number 1 man, beating pound-for-pound fighters, undefeated fighters, gold medalists, silver medalists, Olympians, from Mean Machine to even Madrimov, who he beat in his 4th weight class. On the other hand, who did Gervonta fight in his 3rd weight class? Oh yeah, that's right, Mario Barrios, a good fighter, but he was no champion. Then Tank goes around parades and claims that he's a 3-division world champion, even though he's not. Gervonta haven't even beat his own rivals the way Crawford did. And when he fought a Ryan Garcia, he did a catchweight and a rehydration clause. He did that with Mario Barrios too. So let's not even talk about the possibility of Gervonta moving up 3 weight classes to fight a Crawford. He will never do that, because we know that for a fact. He didn't even want to move up to 140, a division he already fought in, to fight a Devin Haney. He didn't even want to fight Ryan Garcia without a rehydration clause. But he want to talk about greatness? Let's be real. Tank even turned down the Devin Haney fade for Undisputed at 135. Therefore, Gervonta has no room to criticize or make any suggestion about Crawford, especially when he's not willing to do 10% of the things Crawford did, from becoming a 2-time undisputed champion in 2 different divisions and never put anyone on a rehydration clause or a catch weight. Then moving up to fight the Gervonta at 168 by moving up multiple weight classes to his 6th division to fight Canelo Alvarez for Undisputed without a rehydration clause. Again, Gervonta didn't even want to move up to fight Crawford at 147, even though he already fought at 140. So basically, Gervonta only had to move up one division to fight Crawford, and he said, hell no. So how can you criticize the same man that you are not willing to do the same things he did? Inoue is not willing to do what Crawford did to move up to fight Gervonta. Gervonta is not willing to do what Crawford did to move up to fight Crawford. You see, what Inoue and Gervonta are not even daring to think about, Crawford is daring to do. Recently, Gervonta was asked about legacy, and he said, look, I don't care about any of that. Where I come from, I'm already a hero. He's basically here only to make money, right? So if you're only here to make money, then you have no room to speak about greatness and legacy. Since you don't care about it, you don't do anything for legacy and things of that sort, right? And when you had the opportunity to do it, you turned it down. You wasn't willing to do what Crawford did. So don't hate. Appreciate the greatness Crawford is. It's funny, Gervonta called Najee a meat lover for simply stating the truth. Even though we all know if Canelo beat Benavidez like Crawford did and then moved up to fight Bivol and avenge his loss, then after that move up to heavyweight to fight Usyk for Undisputed, Gervonta will be the first one to say the same thing about Canelo, that he's one of the greatest 5 fighters of all time if he managed to do all of that. I mean, Tank is doing far for less. When he said that Canelo is me at 168, he's pound for pound number 1, even though he's not. Matter of fact, I remember when Canelo lost to Bivol, right? And we asking Gervonta, hey, bro, you said you the Canelo at 168. Do you still feel the same after Bivol pretty much beat him 10 rounds to 2? Would you guys believe Tank still said, look, man, I didn't mean to disrespect Canelo or his resume. I'm over here sitting like, bruh, you can't be serious. Why would you still be comparing yourself to Canelo right after he lost and got dominated? But that's how much Gervonta loves Canelo. However, he want to talk about meat lovers and things of that sort. Same person who said Canelo is pound for pound number 1, even though he never been, and Canelo is me at 168, even though he's not. Canelo is not that talented, and he has never been. But let's continue. The real reason why Gervonta got mad at Najee is because he asked Keyshawn about Tank, and he was like hyping it up. That's why Gervonta got mad at Najee. Like I said before, Najee didn't say anything wrong. Matter of fact, he was actually praising Tank. However, Tank got mad because he don't want to fight Keyshawn. But if you don't want to fight Keyshawn, who only have 11 fights or something crazy like that, and he's about to fight for a world title, then how can you criticize or even question the undisputed pound for pound number 1 king of the sport, Terrence Bud Crawford? If it was so easy, everyone would do it. If Gervonta truly was not impressed with Crawford moving up multiple weight classes, one time to his 6th weight class to fight the Gervonta Davis of 168, Canelo Alvarez, who is undisputed, then why doesn't he do that? Why doesn't he do something similar to that? And why didn't he do it when he had the opportunity to move up to fight Crawford after he said he would knock Crawford out in 6 rounds? Remember, he only had to move up 2, and he already moved up to 140 before, so it was only 1 weight class difference. Matter of fact, at that time, Gervonta even called out Conor Benn and told Eddie Hearn to send him an offer to fight Conor Benn at 147. So what's the problem here? This was such a problem to Gervonta to the point where, as much as you guys see Gervonta hate Crawford, he came out and said, look, I was joking about knocking out Bud. Basically, respectfully, I'm turning down the fade and I'm going to stay at my weight class. Gervonta didn't bring up any rehydration clause or catch weight. He said, I'm joking about fighting Crawford. This is why talk is cheap. Action speaks louder than words. Like I said before, if it was so easy, everyone would have had done it. Especially the one that put a rehydration clause on Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios. These guys are not even like a Shakur, a Devin Haney. They not even like that. So to put a rehydration clause on them, that means you could never speak on Bud greatness after turning down the fade talking about you joking, especially downplaying the idea of Crawford moving up multiple weight classes one time to his 6th weight class to fight the same fighter who you said is pound for pound number 1, Canelo Alvarez, the tank of 168. You can't have it both ways. You can't say Canelo is me at 168. He's pound for pound number 1 over me, but then say something as crazy as if Crawford was able to move up multiple weight classes to beat Canelo Alvarez for Undisputed without a rehydration clause, then you a meat lover for saying Crawford is a great fighter and one of the GOAT's top 5. You cannot have it both ways. The math is not mathing. You see, Gervonta has no problem praising a fighter on the hope list, even if it's for something that they haven't earned yet. It's something that they were given. Just like Gervonta showed us time and time again, calling Canelo pound for pound number 1 undeservedly, he has no problem with that when a fighter on the hope list is getting praised. But the moment a fighter on the coincidental list just like him is getting praised for something they actually earned, he has a problem with it. To see his own kind shine. And that's a sickness right there, respectfully. Some call it jealousy, some call it envy, some call it hatred, whatever you want to call it. If Tank wants to receive the same praise, then do it yourself. Fight your rivals, beat them, and move up multiple weight classes to fight a Crawford or something. If not, then plead the 5th or show respect when the king walks in the room. With that being said, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. What's going on with Gervonta tripping, showing his true colors and character, supporting Ryan for cheating, defending him after Ryan Garcia came out with the race rant, and going as far as dissing Crawford's wife, his family, and then discrediting Crawford for the same things he's not willing to do. Subscribe below. And to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, Akhi TV. Peace. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.